Hi everybody and big welcome to a video about the Goad mechanic with the eyes of a cEDH player, but also something of a card review for baeloth barrityl entertainer? By the way, if you're wondering why my fingers are black in the video, it's because I'm currently painting this piece of terrain. But let's talk Goad. Now, in previous videos, I've mentioned that the #1 metagame of multiplayer games is that you want one of your opponents to deal and spend resources interacting with another one of your opponents, while you're just sitting back and watching them fight each other. Goad is doing that beautifully, forcing a creature to attack each combat if able, but also attack a player other than you if able. In multiplayer EDH, you have 3 opponents with each a combined life total of 120, and if you're trying to kill people by attacking them with your creatures, that's gonna take a while. However, if they are attacking each other, that will go faster, and Goad will make them attack each other. It can also be a form of interaction, like creature removal. You can force a Thrasius to go to combat, and everywhere around the table there are blockers that will kill Thrasius. So it all sounds great. However, there are 2 main reasons why you never really see Goad inside cEDH games. The first and simple reason is that it's not really the meta for it currently. You could summarize the meta with something like Adnos versus Rule of Law. And you're gonna have games where you're going up against people that don't really have a creature board state at all, like 0 creatures whatsoever in play. Suddenly there's like nothing for you to goad. Also, if there is something to goad, you don't need to, because there's a black player somewhere around in the pod, and that black player is usually playing ad nauseum, and now everyone wanna interact with that ad nauseum by smashing that player's face. So you don't need to goad anything, everything will go against that player anyway. However, there is a potential development. You see, sometimes you get pods that look like this, where no one is really playing ad nauseum. Well, CC could, but CC is usually not. Suddenly we have 4 creature heavy decks going about, and now Goad might be good. You could even view Goad here as a form of protection versus the Venota player that is going to attack quite heavily. And a way to survive here is basically goad the Venota as much as you can and her board state to make her kill your opponents, and then try to figure out how you're gonna beat that in a 1v1 later. This kind of pod will usually have a lot of stacks effect that is delaying the game, giving creatures the time they need to start smashing face. So even though this isn't the typical cEDH metagame that you envisionize when you talk about competitive commander, but this pod could definitely happen, as there are a lot of different variations to these commanders with stacks game plans. However, that takes us to the problem #2, that there simply isn't any good cards with the Goad mechanic on them that you wanna have inside your deck. According to the text you can see down there, we have 42, and they are all terrible. Or well, they are not all terrible, they are just not good enough. Some of them are actually kinda good though, and have some situational use. I have, for example, been playing Grenzo Havoc Racer inside Nayela. I really liked it in a metagame that we once had where people played a lot of Blood Moon, and this was a good way to actually solve the Blood Moon problem, kinda. You could still like continue forward a tiny bit. But Grenzo Havoc Racer proved really good, mostly because of his ability to exile cards from that defending player's library and just giving you potential value. But I also used the Goad ability from time to time to mostly remove blockers, to make Nayela and more of my warriors come through. I don't think Grenzo Havoc Racer is like an auto-include, far from it for Nayela. It's a situational card you could theoretically play if you wanted to, if it fits your metagame. I've also actually played Grenzo Havoc Racer inside CC, because usually CC becomes really big, she can easily attack and easily get through, so you can get some value with your Grenzo that way. But also you can like goad stuff if you feel like it. But Grenzo is like one of the few. Until today. Now we sort of have this thing. So they are similar, but not the same. They are actually very different. I'm gonna say that Grenzo is the better of the two cards, but that's mostly because of his value potential, that he can gain card draw or kinda gain card draw. And Grenzo is also just 2 mana. That's huge. However, when it comes to goading everything, the Entertainer, the Elf Shaman, will really do the job. He's definitely on the main game plan of goading everything. But he can also come with 2 colors. Either you go Rakdos, including one of these backgrounds that is basically increasing his power, because he will only goad creatures with power less than him, which means you're basically only goading 1/1s. You can also go Gruul. You can go with a Raised by Giants, which will make him into a real... You will basically go the entire board state with this. I don't think this is great, because that's a lot of mana. And I think you have a much better option. You go mono red with commander creatures you own have. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of your library. This creature gets +X/+0 until end of turn, where X is that card's mana value. You may play that card this turn. So this is both increasing the power of your commander, basically goading the entire board state, well, give and take. If you exile a land, nothing happens, but it's also value. You're gaining card draw here. And the Entertainer is solving the mana production as well. Whenever a goaded attacking or blocking creature dies, you create a treasure token. So you're gaining mana from this thing, and Tavern Brawler is giving you more card draw. So suddenly we have a mono red commander with the ability to increase mana production, gain a card draw from the command zone, and interact and kind of board wipe, but also have an aggressive game plan where you could go to like beat down just because you have opponents with creatures. So now the question is, how good is that? And the truth is, not that great. Because this strategy is very pod dependent. If you're going up against opponents that doesn't have creatures, I mean, your commander doesn't really do that much. And there is a chance that you are going to go up against opponents that basically doesn't have any creatures. Now, sure, you could go into pods, there's lots of creatures and this is doing great, but you could accidentally have very bad matchups. But I do like the development. I like where this is like heading. For example, we have creatures with goad abilities like this, that is, well, giving card draw to your opponents. That's very risky. You shouldn't do that. I really like Goblin Spymaster, but it's more of a card that you have inside that Goad deck that is gonna make this one really fun, by the way. If you're playing the Entertainer as your commander, you wanna give away creatures to your opponents so they have things to swing with. By the way, pro tip, you wanna have a Cursed Totem inside that Goad deck because you wanna make sure that your opponents can't tap their mana dorks for mana to avoid attacking. And I think a stacks approach for this commander is kind of where you want to take it, into a mid-range game where people have developed their board state and you're getting an advantage for making your opponents fight each other. But in the end, I think he's just a little bit too weak, and Grenzo ended up just being a situational card that I had when I felt it fitted. But once again, I like the development. I want to see cards that are basically doing the exact same thing but are better. Like lower mana cost for this commander, more colors on it would be great. And I actually hope Goad becomes like almost a thing, because I kind of liked it in casual EDH. That is my big message for this time. Take care, guys. I'll see you around. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you like what I do and you wanna support me, feel free to share my videos or even checking out my Patreon page. Also, purchasing cards from the TCG Players website using the affiliate link in the description below of the video will also help the channel grow. So a big thank you to all of you.